Hello, welcome to this tutorial of the Elementi software. In this video, I'll be showing you some of the new widgets that come with the latest version of Elementi, version 3.1. Specifically, we will be talking about these four widgets, which are in the counters folder of the library. If you notice in the clocks folder, there's no longer a countdown.svg. It's instead been replaced with a counters folder that has four new widgets inside of it. So let's copy and paste these into our project folder. Open up the index.svg, and let's begin with the countdown.svg, which I already have on the index. And the countdown.svg has an initial time, a count unit, as well as a text template that you can set your time code for. I'm going to change the initial time to 120 minutes. The count unit can stay the same at hours, but if I were to set it at minutes or seconds, it wouldn't display properly because the count unit essentially sets the barrier or the threshold for what units are used. So if the count unit is set to minutes, it only uses minutes and not hours whatsoever. So I'm going to reset it to hours. And then the text template, you can use D, H, M, and S for days, hours, minutes, and seconds appropriately. So this looks like it's correctly configured now. But if there's ever a case where you had to go up to 10 or more hours, you would want to add an additional H. So that way you had two numbers set aside for hours. That's also why when I set the count unit to minutes, it only shows 20 here. I can change this to MMM:SS and it would correctly show 120 minutes. So that's the countdown.svg. Let's move on to the next one, which is the count from SVG. Now the count from and the count to SVGs have different icons because they specifically use certain times to count from and count to. So in this one, we are counting from October 20th, 2010 at 2:20 in the afternoon. So I'm going to change this to November 10th. I can't type. November 10th, 2014 at 1600 hours, which is 4 o'clock p.m. And once I do that, we are 4 minutes away from the time. Yep, it's now 4:04. And you can change the text template here from years, months, and days. Basically various parameters here. The Y is a representation of the number of years. A capital M is the representation of the number of months. D is the representation of the number of days. And then the time code that you saw in the previous widget, HHMMSS, to represent hours, minutes, and seconds. The word years, the word months, and the word days are included in these single quotations so that they're not accidentally represented by a number. In which case, if they weren't, this Y would then be represented the same way as this capital Y here and show a number instead of the actual letter Y. That's why we've enclosed these three words in single quotations. Moving on to the count2.svg. This one works very similarly to the count from. Instead, you're counting to a particular day in the future, in which case we are counting to April 1st, 2100 at 11:59 and 59 seconds. So 85 years, 4 months, and 22 days from now. Let's count down to the weekend. So November 14th. Let's go for 17:30. 30. Do, 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 do. And I forgot to put a year. There we go. So I've got 4 days, 1 hour, and 24 minutes until the weekend. So that's the count to SVG, and the last one is the count up SVG, and it works similarly to the countdown.svg. You set an end time, which is basically how far up you want to count, a count unit, and then the text template. The same rules apply to the count up SVG as the countdown.svg. You're going to set the count unit to the maximum unit that you want to use. In this case, I just want to do seconds. And I'm just going to make this SSSS. Actually, I'm just going to make it 2 S's because we're just doing 30 seconds. If I wanted to, I could also do, let's do 60 minutes. And in that case, I would then change this to MM. And set the count unit up to minutes. I could also, if I wanted to, separate these by MM and then a single quote, minutes, and SS, there you go, colon, seconds. And that would show MM, the 2-minute numbers, and then SS, the 2-second numbers, with the word minutes and the word seconds there. So that's how you can use the countdown or the counters within your Elementi library and incorporate them into your project. Thanks for watching this